Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gritty Hour. I'm here with a very special guest today. I have Joe Devito, Joey D, as he's known in the Millbrook area. He's an expert coin collector.
How are you today?
I'm fine, Joe. Thanks for coming by and coming in-house,
Oh, no problem.
How did you get into coin collecting? I've known you for a few years now. You came to a couple of auctions. I met you at a couple of auctions. And
I've been collecting, buying and selling for about 20 years now.
wow.
It's it's a fascination because I also got into metal detecting, and that's I got into both things about the same time. And when you find your first real cool coin in the ground,
hmm
it just it makes you keep going.
Yeah.
And
Which came first, chicken or the egg?
the metal detecting by a little bit,
Okay.
and then the coins, they're just expensive to do after a while because if you want real crazy coins, sometimes you got to spend a lot, but sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different coins out there, different countries and stuff like that, and I mostly deal with United States coins. I do some foreign coins, but mostly for the most part is United States coins.
Yeah, well, you say when you first got into metal detecting about 20 years ago, where did you start? Like, was it somebody's backyard,
Believe
your
it or
own
not, I
backyard?
started at my own home. Um, I grew up there, been there all my life, and it was built in 1920.
hmm
So I started metal detecting in an area, and all of a sudden I found my first mercury dime, which was from that one in particular was from the late 20s.
hmm
And after I found it, after you find your first silver coin, it's I don't want to say downhill from there, but you're hooked. And
It's addictive, yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and in my actual yard, I have found probably close to 15 mercury dimes,
Wow.
a lot of wheat pennies, and uh, I found this.
Yeah, you brought some coins today, which
Yeah,
we'll look through.
I found this Barber $50.
hmm I'm gonna hold it
I'll
up here.
let you hold it.
Okay.
And that was at my house. So I don't know if somebody dropped it or if they just wanted me to have it. So I'm not sure, but it's a real nice find.
Somebody knew you well, you were younger, so somebody thought, let me get this guy on this trail.
Yeah,
I'll
and
plant it.
that's in very good shape for what it is, and that came out of the ground with very, very minimal cleaning. So when you find gold and silver in the ground, 9 times out of 10, unless it's been through a hard life,
hmm
that's what you're gonna find, and that's the shape it's gonna come out.
Cool. Now, what is the history of this? What kind of denomination is this?
That's a 50-cent piece,
Uh-huh.
and that's called a Barber 50-cent piece.
hmm And it was government circulated for how long?
Uh, that one went all the way up to about 1916,
Oh,
and then they switched from there.
to the current
Yeah,
design, 50-cent piece.
no, it went Stand in Liberty after that from 1916, and then it jumped into um, Franklin,
hmm
um, and then it jumps around from there, and then it went to Kennedy after that.
Right.
I don't have an example of everything, but I also found this coin in my yard. This is a Barber quarter, and that was a 1904.
Uh-huh.
And again, that came out of the ground just like that. So
Sorry for the glare for those who are watching on YouTube.
but it was
At least my hands are steady,
oh
Joe.
yeah, I
I'm
see
way ahead of
that.
the game here.
Yeah, that's you're not doing bad.
I'm trying to get rid of the glare, though. All right. So you
But
found both of these in your own yard?
in my own yard, yes.
Wow. So are they one of the first ones you found when you first started the
Yes,
hobby?
yes.
Hmm.
And then some of the other things that I've found, metal detecting on properties all over the place. I love going to older properties because they tell the story of what could have happened there, what might have happened there, and if there was people like a Washington came through there. There's areas in Connecticut that
Even here
have, yeah,
in
that
the
has a lot of
Northeast
history.
Dutchess County, yeah.
This is a kind of like a colonial shoe buckle. That's one of my
Wow,
best finds,
wow.
and that's in very, very good shape for what it is.
Tell
And
me,
it,
tell me the story of how you got on this property to
yep,
do it.
that, believe it or not, was about probably 10 inches down, and it rang real high because
That's just
it's like,
hand forged, obviously, right?
yeah, it's a like a bronze. So it rang real high on the machine because that's a positive metal.
Hmm.
And that I found in the Amenia area.
Hmm.
And then,
Amelia, New York, yeah.
yep. And then this was in Amenia also, close to Sharon, Connecticut.
So it might have been on a child's shoe.
Yeah.
This is what they wore them on a shoe, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that they put the lace through it similar to a belt.
Yep.
Mm. So obviously these are from the 1700s.
Oh yeah. These are a very good find, very very good shape. That one has a little bit of a breakage to it, but I have it back in place so you can see what it looks
Oh,
like
I'll
when
break it
it's a.
before the podcast is
Oh,
over.
that's okay.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you get on these properties.
Well, 9 times out of 10, I know the caretaker or I get to meet the actual people involved. Um, the good thing about the machine that I have, you will know within the size of like a softball how big the hole is going to be. So it's not like you're going to come in with an excavator or a
Hmm.
backhoe or anything like that. Um, you know, this machine is very precise and it kind of tells you how deep it is.
Right.
It'll kind of tell you what it is to an extent. If you find a copper fitting, it's going to tell you it's a penny. So it can be mistaken a little bit, but the process of it is a very fun thing. You really when you find these older properties like that, it's amazing. Some of the places I found was just by somebody asking me to come over to find a well cap or a septic lid or something like that because they
Ah,
couldn't find it.
I see.
So you go there to help them out, and next thing you know, you're finding coins. You're finding,
Mm.
one time I found a mason jar with not a lot of coins, but with some silver coins in an old basement, and the house was upper 1700s.
Wow.
So that was one of my most knee shaking
Hmm.
finds that I found because when you take a stone out of a foundation and you see a mason jar lid, anything can happen.
Mm. Well, let me ask you a question. Tell me a little bit about the machines you use.
I use a machine called White's. It's a V3i. It's had all the upgrades, and the person years and years ago that got me into it, he was almost a person that can work for companies like that. He knew how to program stuff like you wouldn't believe. And to this day, I still have one of his programs in the machine. And what it does is it definitely discriminates. It tells you what is pretty much the signal. It'll tell you it doesn't go as deep because it has to decipher what it's ringing on the machine,
Right.
but it'll tell you if it's a penny or if it's
Well, how deep does it go?
it goes about 12 inches down,
Okay. So
and it's
something like this belt buckle, this revolutionary or colonial era belt buckle.
yeah.
How generally something from that era, how deep would that be? Does it
Well,
depend on
believe
the,
it or not,
yeah,
that was about 10 inches down,
wow,
and I got lucky with it because it was on its side. So what happens is you're not getting the full
reading,
reading of
right?
it. So, but the house was very old. And when you come to older houses like that, even if it's not a major positive signal, you have to dig.
Hmm.
I mean, because it's amazing what comes out of the ground. I
Hmm.
mean,
Now, do you ever sell anything that you find in the,
yes,
yeah?
yeah. To get the machine that I have now, I had some old buckles, and one buckle I had was about this big, and it was called a Batwing buckle, and it looked just almost like a Batman.
From what
Uh,
era? Also from the
That
colonial?
was colonial too.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was an older one, and
Now,
that
something that big, would that be like, because they used to have hats with buckles on them too, didn't they?
no, this was a belt buckle.
Oh, a
I'm
belt
pretty
buckle.
sure.
You
Yeah,
said belt buckle,
regular.
yeah.
Yeah,
These are
regular.
shoe buckles.
Yeah, those are
Okay,
shoe buckles,
I got you.
and that I ended up trading that and some old silver coins that I had towards the purchase of the machine that I have now, and that helped out with the cost because the cost was very high.
Yeah. And where do you
Um,
generally sell, on eBay, or is there a collector society, or?
um, on that, I ended up going right to the actual dealer of the metal detector.
Oh,
He's a person that would wheel and deal with you like that, and he was a major collector, so I was able to you know get some of the money discounted off of the machine for doing that.
hmm.
But my oldest coin to date is a coin from the Netherlands, and it's 1750
Wow.
silver dollar, and
Now, where was this
yeah,
from? It was dug over there in Europe or here?
believe it or not, that's in the Millbrook area.
Wow. Well, this area was sitting in Millbrook, New York area, Eastern Dutchess County in New York.
Yeah,
It
and
goes back
that,
to it goes back to the times of the Dutch.
yeah,
Yeah.
and this, I couldn't get like a ton of information on this, but it graded very nice. VF20 is good. That means very fine 20, and the scale goes up to 70, so it could have been a lot better, but for 1750, it graded real nice, and it pretty much came out of the ground like that. I didn't have to, because you're not supposed to clean coins when you're going to have them graded like that.
Hmm.
And
You do like a pedestrian, just like washing the mud off.
yeah, just like a light water and just kind of go slow with your finger a little bit. Some people use a light brush, but
Even
when
I
it's
know, not
something,
knowing a lot about coin collecting, even I know, keep the toothbrush away from the coin, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
because if you get some scratches on there, believe it or not, that 20 starts moving quick
Yeah.
when you have
Well, I'm
to.
thinking 1750. I'm just trying to go by history. The Dutch were already out of here. It was already a British.
Yeah,
New
and
York was
that
already a
that was
British colony.
relatively deep too. So what could have happened is they dropped it and just from people walking on the ground and stuff,
Hmm.
that could have happened
This,
there.
did you ever? It makes you wonder about the stories behind these things. Like, who did drop that? Why
Yeah.
did he have it?
Oh, it
And
and
did he
that's
lament? Not like what would be the well? Would he be able to use it in this country in 1750? You think?
see that I'm not sure of, but I know they knew what the silver value was, so it
Okay.
might have been more towards a silver value, but
Yeah.
that I can't
So this would
answer.
be pure sterling, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like about 90%.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's
And there's not a lot of wear on it for something that old.
no. That and like I said, when I first started seeing it when I was digging the hole, first I thought it was aluminum can, because it was kind of tilted a little bit. So I was like, I found a can, and then I started looking and I see a rim on it, and I'm like, oh no, that's not a coin.
Now, where was this house, in the media?
In Millbrook area,
On the Millbrook
like at
area. You
the
said that,
outskirts
yeah.
of Millbrook.
Yeah. There's a lot of history in this area in
Yeah.
terms of, a lot of American history in this area.
And then this one is just a newer coin now. This wasn't found metal detecting, but this is what they've come to be now, and that's an eagle,
Yeah,
American Eagle
this is
coin, and that's
brand new, right? 2023.
yep,
Now, did you
2023
buy this?
American Eagle. Yeah, I bought this.
Okay.
I like I said, I buy a lot of coins, a lot of coin collections and stuff like that, and this is graded 70. That's the highest that it can be graded, so that
MS70,
hasn't
yeah.
been touched without gloves on.
Oh, it says first day of issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as soon as they come out, I buy them every year just to add to the collection.
And if you happen to need something for $1, you got it in your pocket.
Yeah.
Take it out of the plastic.
A little bit more than
I
a
read a
dollar, but
story years ago about some guy who robbed a house, and it had a bunch of old collectible coins, and apparently he used it in a laundromat.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I've been in a bank, and silver has a distinct sound.
Mhm.
And I was in line at the bank, and a lady went up to the coin star that's in the banks, and I hear her dump it, and all I hear is silver, and
Mhm.
it's 100% all silver. And I went over to her. I didn't want to make her nervous because she don't know me from anywhere. I said, Miss, don't hit that button because I could probably 5 to 10 times what you're going to get because that's all silver. And she was very happy.
And those Coinstar machines? Tell
Yeah,
me. Oh, she didn't.
she dumped it in, but she didn't hit the button for it to go. So I caught it, before it started going on the belt.
How do
So
you get it out of there once she dumps it in there?
oh, it's a belt. Like it's a gully, and then it sits on a belt, and the belt brings the coins and drops them down
Oh,
into the.
oh,
Once it goes to the counter, then it's too late. But
oh. Hmm. I
but she
bet, I
was
bet,
very
I bet
happy.
the company that does that Coinstar finds a lot of stuff
Oh yeah,
on the end, on the
yeah,
back
they
end.
do.
Yeah.
I mean, the banks do everything in house.
Right.
The ones that have that, but for the most part, the I think the Coinstar is an actual company that comes in and does
Well, even today in everyday transactions, you're always seeing like wheat pennies,
yeah.
buffalo nickels.
Yeah,
You know.
you'll see wheat pennies. It's getting a little harder to find like silver dimes and stuff like that. I think people are starting to catch on to
Hmm.
what silver is,
Right.
because anything 64 and back is usually like about 90% on quarters, dimes, and half dollars. So they're the ones that you'll get the best of money for if you're going to get it. And then
Yeah, it was like the mid 1960s. They moved away from
yeah,
silver. Yeah.
the half dollars from 65 to 69 are 40%, so they're still good too. But if you find anything silver after that, 9 times out of 10 it was taken out of a collection. Like the mint proof sets that they have, you know, in Boston cases and stuff, and they're worth silver. They're good price on
Yeah,
those.
worth
But
whatever silver's going
yeah.
for. Yeah.
And
So
then they make the once in a while you get an error coin,
yes, before we started recording, you were telling me how these happen sometimes,
and
but
that
I'll try and get a good.
was stamped wrong. It must have fell in the press or whatever. Now, some of the coins, some of the years that were real special, like 55, what happened is there was a storm coming in, and when they wanted to hurry up and stamp out a whole mess of them. Well, they wanted to get out of there because they were getting nervous with the storm
Which
coming
mint
in.
was that?
What's that?
Which mint was that? Denver?
I don't remember on that. I think it was Denver.
Hmm.
And what happened is they no, it was Philadelphia, I believe.
Okay.
And what happened is to get out of there, they started stamping them and stuff, and some of them fell down a little bit, and they double stamped, and it
Yeah.
really now if you find them, it's hard to find them, but they are out there, and
Yeah. It's hard to believe
they're
that
worth a few
that
dollars.
that got into circulation that way.
Yeah.
You know.
9 times out of 10, like I was telling you earlier, errors like that, it was maybe like 11:59, and it was almost lunchtime, and one or two is not going to hurt nothing. So
And here we are talking about it, all because of a snowstorm
yeah.
or a lunch hour. Yeah. So, what's the best field you ever dug in? Is there one?
No, not fields.
Like the
Well,
best house you ever been to, or the one that
mostly
reaped the most?
Sharon, Connecticut.
Sharon, Connecticut.
Yeah, on the green over there. Now there's new laws because what happened is years ago there wasn't any problem with anybody going over there, but then a few people left holes open,
Mm.
and they shut it down. And over there, the things that you could find are absolutely scary. I mean, to find an 1800s coin over there is like no big deal. I mean, that's how positive it is over there. A friend of mine that I do detect with, he's in a different area now, but he found a $10 gold coin,
Wow.
1851, right near a stone wall.
Hmm.
So it's amazing the stuff that you'll find.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the history of Sharon, Connecticut. I know Henry Kravitz has property there. That's all I know about Sharon.
Yeah,
And there's a hospital there. That's the only two things I know.
yeah.
But obviously, he must have had some history
Oh
going a
yeah,
couple of hundred years back,
oh
right?
yeah. There's a few properties that we have permission to go in, actual properties, and one of them doing the whole yard because the house was very, very old. And we got near a tree and we found 27 large pennies, all from 1796 to about 1803, 1804.
Hmm.
And it was amazing. It just,
Now, how big is a large penny as opposed to today's penny?
um, I have a picture of a large penny here,
Okay.
but this one, the glare, it might not show up good.
Well,
It's hard to
then,
tell.
okay.
But that was one of the 1803s that we found. But it's,
So this would have been right after our independence, correct?
yeah,
It's
so
not going to
yeah,
show
there you
well.
go. If you
Yeah.
if you turn it sideways, you'll get and that came up as a very fine. That graded real good.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I
And
can't get a good shot
yeah,
of it.
it's tough because the old coppers like that, it's hard to get a real good picture of them. My
Yeah.
oldest copper to
Now, you
date is,
found this, or how
yeah,
did?
yeah, yeah. My oldest copper to date was 1796,
Hmm.
and they graded it genuine but corroded,
Hmm.
and you could see it decent, but they just wouldn't bend on it, so they didn't give me a good grade. But even graded the way it is, the older one, it's still worth a few hundred
The
dollars.
design
So
is similar to the wheat penny. In fact,
yeah,
I wish I could show this better
I know
on the
it's,
back. It's sort of similar to the wheat penny, which was what, the early 1900s?
yeah,
Yeah.
it started in 1909.
Hmm. Interesting. Now, where did you find this again?
That's Sharon,
Oh,
Connecticut.
Sharon, Connecticut.
Yeah,
Okay. So this was in common circulation back in 1803?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
But I guess you can get a lot of stuff for a penny back then.
yeah. Oh,
Bazooka Joe, at least.
yeah, yeah. Bazooka.
Yeah, you could probably get a bazooka, yeah.
We have
Wow.
we have found, like bullets and stuff. I wasn't real impressed with because it really is hard to prove when a bullet is, unless it's a certain type. But we found stuff like that, and
Like colonial era bullets?
yeah, I think
Oh.
so. I couldn't get a good read on it, but you could tell it definitely maybe in the 18s, right
Hmm.
around in there. So that was always a fun thing. And one
Yeah.
of the other things I found too,
Have you ever I'm a Civil War aficionado. Have you ever uh, metal detected on a Civil War battlefield
most of them
without
you can't.
incriminating yourself?
Yeah, most of them you can't.
I
Yeah,
know in
they
Gettysburg you can't. Yeah.
what happens is a guy up where I bought my machine from came into the guy to buy a metal detector, and he was an actual whites dealer. And he told the guy, he said, "Yeah, I'm going over onto one of the battlefields," and he's like, "Don't do that. They're gonna take the machine if they catch you."
And you can be fined. Yeah.
2 hours later, he was back buying another machine.
Oh, really?
They took it, they fined him. It just it's a beautiful thing if you find something and you don't get caught, but man, it's
Well, when
there's
you
so
have,
many other areas out there that
yeah. Well, when you have an enormous battlefield like Gettysburg, outside on the outskirts of the actual government park, is private homes, and sometimes you can get permission from that private homeowner.
yeah,
And
that's where you luck out. That's and I've worked in a lot of public areas and stuff, and that's a lot of times how you get to get permission to come into places, and then you show them how you're going to dig, just so they don't think you're going to come in with an excavator or something like
hmm,
that.
yeah,
But I
with a
tell people,
backhoe.
if yeah, if I tell people if I'm going to come in with a backhoe, don't worry about it. We're going to be rich when I'm done. So
Yeah,
then, but the
you have to scout it out first to know that, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to.
Tell me the story about this thing. It's The Lone Ranger
Now
Victory
that
Corps.
I found in Pauling, New York.
And this is 1942.
Yep, that's
So this
from
is when the Lone Ranger went to
1942, and
war.
that's in real good shape. I think it still has like a little bit of the dirt stain on there, but I didn't want to scrub anything.
Yeah, it's hard
And
to.
that was a real cool find. That I almost thought I
This
found
is
a
like a lapel pin, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because on the
and the
back it
piece on
says
the back.
Tearing, or is that Sterling? No, TER Inc.
Yeah,
1942.
I think that was the
So along
maker's
with Lucky
mark.
Strike, the Lone Ranger went to war.
Yep. And that when I first found it, because it is a little bit gold color, I thought I found my first gold coin, but it wasn't.
This is made
But
out of what now?
I believe that's brass.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I got the
Yeah, it looks
signal
like brass. Yeah.
with the machine, it came up as brass.
Hmm. Got the V for victory already.
Yep.
1942. Interesting. Some kid probably had it on his shirt,
Yep.
fell off, and then you picked it up
And then I picked
80
it up.
years later.
Yep.
Yeah.
In that same area down there, I don't have the coin with me because it was not in great shape, but I found a Flying Eagle penny, and they were only made in 1856, 57, and 58. The 56 is worth quite a bit of money.
1856?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the 50 the 58 isn't worth as much, so you can be guaranteed which one I found.
Mm.
I found the 58, but it was a very fun coin to find because finding stuff like that is you don't just find it all over the place.
Now, do you mind if I just pick things up and you tell me the story
Yeah,
behind them?
yeah, no problem.
Because you have one earring.
That, believe it or not, years and years ago, before it's what it is now,
Mm-hmm.
I found that at Silo Ridge in Amenia.
In Armenia? Okay.
Yep. And that's when the original owner had it still. And I went over to an older area, and
And what is this made out of, sterling?
that's, yeah, 925.
And what's the gem in there, do you know?
No, no.
So you have to look for some lady with one ear
Yeah,
to
that
find
could
the
be.
owner.
Yeah. But that
She
was
probably lamented losing this too at one time, right?
see, and something like that. The
Yeah.
problem is when you find that, now you stay an extra 2 hours because you want to find the other one.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Mhm.
didn't find the other one, but it
No.
was still fun to.
Yeah. It's an interesting piece, though. Now this one is catching my eye.
Now, I got told by,
This looks like a regular pin, but it's hard to see what it is. Maybe you know. I don't even know if I have it
well,
upside
I
down
got
or
told,
not.
and I can't guarantee this because even if when you turn it upside down, you see it's got a hatchet to it or a little axe. Now, a guy that teaches class in like a history stuff
Yeah.
said it's something to do with an Italian pin, like a war thing, like, but I couldn't get any information
Italian
about
Army
it.
medal, maybe?
Yeah, or something like that.
Hmm.
I
I would think this is right side up, though. And I
yeah.
see it is an axe.
So if there is somebody out there that could tell me about it, that would be
And
cool
well, leave a
because it's
comment if you're
yeah,
listening. There's nothing you can do for me. But if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment if you know what that is.
yeah,
All
and
right.
it's in very good shape for what it
Yeah.
was. That was a real cool find.
An Italian, yeah. Well, even an Indian thing is what first thing that came to my mind.
See, I just don't know if they had the resources to make stuff like that as much, but it could be.
Yeah.
It could be. Like I
Mhm.
said, I haven't been able to find out any information.
Now you can trust your car to the man who wears the star.
Yeah.
The word on the bottom does look like it says sheriff.
Yeah, see,
This is an old.
that I've never been, that was very, very worn, so I never got a chance to really, I don't want to clean it anymore because I don't want to take any letters off, but it's definitely a heavy piece. And
Yeah, well, I can almost guarantee it says sheriff on the bottom,
yeah,
but I can't make out at all what it says on the top.
and that was
I can't tell if it's a child's toy badge or a real badge. It is heavy. It doesn't seem like it.
that I found in Dover.
It
in
doesn't
Dover
seem like they
Plains.
would use this kind of metal for a child's toy.
Yeah,
know,
because it does have some weight to it.
right. Interesting. And you found this in Dover,
Yeah.
in Dutchess
Dover
County
coins.
here?
Yeah.
Wow. It's hard to even guess. I'd say 1920s if I had to,
Yeah.
but that's an uneducated guess.
Yeah. No, but that's a good guess. So that's kind of near where I was thinking with it. But it
Now,
just,
when you're digging this, like how far down was this edge? Remember?
I would say that because it wasn't that deep. I think it was about 6, 7 inches down.
All right. What does your machine tell you that it is?
It was all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why the metal on that wasn't like a real good metal, but the ground itself where I dug it doesn't have a lot of iron ore. Like Sharon, Connecticut, you have to change a whole mess of settings on your machine because there's a lot of iron ore in the ground. So you have to eliminate some of those signals or you'll be digging stuff that's not even there.
I see. I guess that
So it's
throws it. Yeah.
yeah, that's the reason you spend a good amount on a machine so you could try to eliminate a lot of the noises that would be confusing.
Here's a coin from 1873. It says 1873 seeded.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
in
called a seeded
for something that age.
seeded coin.
That's pretty damn good condition.
Yeah, that's very good condition. That was bought from a collection. That wasn't
Oh,
a
you
metal.
didn't dig that?
No, that
Okay.
wasn't a metal detector.
I'll be all right. Just want to show the back.
Yeah, it's just so nice to see these coins like this because, you know,
And what is this?
that right there is a quarter, a
Quarter.
seeded quarter. Yeah.
Okay. Now seeded. And what is that? Who is that statue of? You know? Who's seating? Who's sitting down?
That was, I believe that's Lady Liberty.
Oh. Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, because she had a lot of different,
Well, she had to sit
lot
down.
of
There's
different
nothing wrong with
poses
that.
and stuff. Yeah.
Everybody's got to sit down every once in a while.
Oh yeah. Get tired.
But for 1870, you bought this on the market?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also buy a lot of coin collections.
Now, do you go on eBay? Where do you go for these things? Do you go to shows?
I don't go to as many shows. I used to go to a lot of shows, but when COVID hit,
Oh,
shows
sure, yeah.
shows kind of disappeared. But now they're starting to come back around.
Is eBay a resource also, or?
Yeah, they're not bad, but there's a lot of cowboys on there, so you gotta definitely buy from, reputable guys because you can make fake coins.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to tell when you have a coin like this, if you're not sure if it's fake or real, take a magnet and put it on the coin.
Right.
If that coin lifts up, it's not real.
Mm.
That means it's metal. But because they can put silver over top of metal, so it'll look real, but it's not. I had a guy didn't know it
Now,
was.
how the hell do you tell that on eBay either?
Well, that's the problem. That's why you have to go with somebody reputable.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
had a guy that had a coin collection, and I bought the collection, and then he said, I got another coin that was, a real old one.
Mhm.
So when I first saw it, I saw what it was. It's one of the seeded ones, but it was a major special date. I don't remember the date, but it was one of the real key date looking ones.
Okay. So
I
now
just
here's the same seated Lady Liberty. You could actually tell it's Lady Liberty better on this coin, maybe because it's bigger.
Yeah.
Maybe less worn a little bit. I'm sorry about the glare. There's nothing I could do about it at this point. So this is a $50
Yeah.
from 1877.
Yeah, and that's 90% silver also.
And this one you bought or you found or
No,
dug
I
it?
bought that one.
Oh, you bought this one too. So you must have a vast collection, I'm thinking.
Very big
You
collection.
got one hell of a retirement package you're sitting on.
I hope so.
Whatever you do, don't give out your address on this podcast.
Yeah, no, I hopefully if silver goes up,
Don't you have a big ass Great Dane dog in your house
Great Dane,
that you only feed once a week?
24 cameras, and
Yeah. So now you got some more belt buckles. They all seem like colonial era to me.
yeah,
Now these were
there
dug
was
by you?
yeah, a lot of them, believe it or not, a lot of those I found in Armenia.
Mm-hmm.
on an old farm property um, at the main house. So
Mhm.
it wasn't near the actual farm, but
And these were
um,
shoe buckles?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And these, and all the remaining buckles are
yeah.
from
They were
Armenia?
all like a like a kid's shoe buckle. That one's missing the piece,
Mhm.
but it is all intact when it comes to the actual.
Yeah. They all
Um,
look like hand forged
this one I
items.
wish was in better condition, but it's a very cool but bent up buckle. I probably can get it going. Like one of the other shoe buckles I showed you earlier, the bigger one.
Mhm.
That one, when I first got it, it was frozen shut.
This
It
piece
was,
here?
yeah.
Mhm.
Now it moves very freely by soaking it in oil and then moving it.
Right.
It took me about 3 months to get it to move.
Mhm.
Every day I would just move it a tiny bit, and I had it soaked in like a 3-in-1 oil.
Yeah, well, it
And
moves
yeah,
pretty freely now.
yeah,
Now,
yeah, it works
when you're
good.
telling the story about where you got them and everything, you just envision somebody
Yeah,
standing
you
with a plow behind a mule, and
yeah,
it just comes off
you
as the,
wonder what really happened in
yeah,
that
they
area
just,
because there is a couple areas. There's an old baseball field in Dover that I mean I lived in Dover all my life, and you know some of the coins we found out of there, not anything drastically old, but you knew that it came from from you know kids playing or this or that.
mhm.
It's definitely a very fun hobby, and Armenia's the same way. Where the town hall is in Armenia, um, kids used to sleigh ride on that hill,
Mhm.
and it's not a real big hill, but they used to sleigh ride, and if they had change in their pocket, they used to have change in
It's
their
not like
pocket.
stealing from children because these kids are 90
No,
years old
oh
now,
yeah,
so yeah.
they're and I used to own a like a little deli diner type place in Armenia years ago, and
Mhm.
uh, there was three ladies that used to come in, very good friends of ours, and they knew I was metal detecting, and they said, why don't you go to the old fair where they used to have it? And I went to where it is because I knew the area real well. It was a cow field.
Mm.
So I'm looking, I'm like, maybe they're confused of what area it was. I went there when they had the cows inside. You don't even know the coins we found. It was a little tough because it was kind of near a river, and the cows, the weight of the cows push it down deeper.
Mm.
But we found a lot of interesting coins over
Mm.
there too. Nothing crazy old, but you know, 1900s and up.
I guess
So it's
it's good for someone with this hobby that you have is knowing the history of the area,
yeah,
you
that's
know.
the biggest help. If you know that there's some kind of history in the area, like if there used to be a bar in the area, or anywhere where there was
Well, there's something in a town
money.
nearby here, like, was it Salt Point that used to be a racetrack or something? A horse racetrack?
I think it's near Troop K
Oh, okay.
or something like that.
Right.
But you can't get in over there. But
Yeah.
um, there's that, and there. I think on the green over here, they used to do a lot of stuff, a lot of carnival, but that wouldn't be real old. But there's a lot of
Well, actually, old enough on the green, that used to be a railroad station.
yeah.
In fact, the Bank of Millbrook down the block from where we're sitting used to be the headquarters of the railroad. So I don't know if that stuff would still be there.
Yeah, see
Yeah.
that there's a couple things in Connecticut that were pretty interesting. They see, and that gets back to what you were saying with the history of places. You see these cement, like almost like a cement block, but like up in the air a little bit. It was where they used to get on a horse and carriages, but it was built out of other stuff. They just put cement there afterwards to show where it was.
Ah,
So it's like I said, it's pretty interesting to find out
now
history of
what
this
about the
stuff.
Dutchess County Fairgrounds? Would you ever get permission to go on there? Or
No,
they wouldn't give you permission?
no, that's a little bit tough. I can almost guarantee people go, but
Mhm.
I think you really have to know somebody to get in there and
Mhm.
stuff. And
Here's one that's, I can't tell if this is,
That's for a gun. That was for like a gun strap.
oh, I see. For how long, how old would you say this was?
I'm gonna say mid to late 18s on that.
Really?
Yeah.
So like Civil War era almost?
No,
Or
no.
pre-Civil War?
I'm gonna say more of the later 18. That I couldn't find no information on
Mhm.
because I typed in a whole mess of different things online, and that's the only thing. If to have a person that really knows some of the stuff that I found would be great, like a real heavy duty historian or something like that. I mean, I know if I bring it to older gun guys, 100% they'll know what that is, or
Right. How do you know it was on a gun then?
because you could tell by the strap. The strap will go through the oval part,
Mhm.
and the pin part will go, sort of hook to the gun that way.
I see.
You'd have a loop, and then it hook right onto that
Okay, that makes
that
sense,
circle
yeah.
piece.
So for a shoulder strap or?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Interesting.
like the belt of a.
It looks like it was done by a smithy.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it was done in a factory. So if it is a gun strap, it looks like it was handmade, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Yeah, interesting piece. And where did you dig this from?
that was that was in Dover
Okay.
at a house from 1803,
Ah, nice.
and that's the same house as where I found. I didn't bring the coin with me, but one of the large pennies. It was a 1796,
Hmm.
so that was a nice find over there too.
Now here's another coin that
And that's a Walk in Liberty
Walking
half
Liberty,
dollar.
$5, 1941. So that was
And
right
it's just so
before our
nice.
entry into
These
World War
coins
II.
at this era and the older ones were so much nicer looking. And I mean, these Silver Eagles now look good, but
Talking about the design?
yeah,
Yeah.
the design of these older coins were so much nicer than what's out there now.
This looks almost like the back of a quarter, current day quarter, right?
Not mostly the Eagle.
Yeah.
The Silver Eagles would be like that.
Hmm. So how much would you say this is worth on the market? 1942
In
Walking
that
Liberty.
shape right there.
First of all, this is a dollar,
No,
half
half
dollar, it's
dollar.
50-cent piece,
Yeah.
okay.
That's going, it all, the silver market depends on what that's at, but roughly that's anywhere from 8 to 15, depending on the shape.
Hmm. And you dug this?
No, no, that's not a dig.
That's another, you purchased it on the market?
Yeah,
I see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those I have a good sized bag of those. Those are fun to have.
When did they start putting "In God We Trust" on the coins and the dollars? You know?
No,
No?
no. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I hate not to know questions like that, but
I specialize in asking questions that I'm pretty sure you don't know. Now here's another one, E pluribus unum,
yeah, that's Morgan.
1878.
That's a Morgan dollar,
Mm-hmm.
and that's 90% silver.
Is this a buy or a dig?
What's that?
Is this a buy or a dig?
That's a buy.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. If you find one of those, most of the time you're out west somewhere in the old ghost towns.
Oh yeah.
That's where you might find something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're a nice coin too. Those I have a lot of them that are graded. In 1878, there's a few of them that had on the backside. You'll see where the eagle is. They added an extra feather on some of them, so it's called a 7 feather or 8 feather. So it's yeah, you gotta have a
Yeah.
little
It
microscope to
takes
see stuff.
patience
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, your eyes get blurry after a while, I'm
Ooh.
sure. Yeah.
That's why I have it's called a microscope for the computer, and it's a USB into your computer. You put the coin down, and I can see if I'm looking at a penny, I could see if Lincoln has a zit on his face, how close you can get. It's 200x,
Yeah.
and it's amazing.
So
But you have to have that
we're
to.
breaking news here, folks. Abe Lincoln had acne.
And you
Yes,
heard it here first. You
you
didn't
heard
hear
it
it
here
anywhere.
for
Yeah.
1853. This is what now? This is also seated
Yeah,
Liberty.
that's a seated quarter.
Yeah, 'cause that first one was the first seated Liberty. It was, I guess, worn enough that I thought it was a fella sitting there. But these last two seated Liberties, I can tell that they're Liberty
Yeah.
sitting down. And
Yeah,
this is
those
from
are
1853,
yeah,
and this is a what now?
that's a
A quarter?
quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so the actual denomination of 25-cent pieces has been around a long time.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
interesting. Wonder if this will work in the laundromat.
Oh, it does. It does. And the person that has to clean the laundromat money out is very happy
Yeah,
when
they
they
got a
find it.
bonus
Yeah,
that day. Yeah,
they have a very good day that
yeah.
day.
So again, with this machine, the machine can tell you how deep it is,
It can tell you how deep,
and
and
basically,
it could be a little bit off
mhm,
depending on, like, if something is crooked in the ground. If something's flat in the ground, it'll ring like anything. But
how often does that happen? Which one is more
uh,
common?
it's about half and half.
Mm,
If you have it on edge, it's gonna ring, but sometimes you'll get almost like a false signal.
mhm.
But when you're in a place that's in the 1800s or early 19s or even older, you have to dig, because I have found large pennies in the ground straight up and down like that, and
Mhm.
you know,
Did you ever
eight.
find something with your metal detector that was enormous? Like wasn't a coin or a belt buckle or like
A lot
huge?
of times, like if you go to like if there's been garbage thrown down, that's the only thing. It's a little tough. Probably the biggest thing I ever found, and I got nervous because it almost looked like a chest, was a plow blade for a tractor.
No.
So it's big and it's
Oh, you
heavy.
mean you didn't get nervous, you got excited.
Oh my,
You thought it
yeah,
was a
it
a
was
pirate's
very
treasure.
exciting. Yeah, yeah. All I needed to see was hinges on there, and it would.
So
I'd still.
the heart starts to pump when that
Oh
thing
yeah,
goes off, huh?
oh yeah,
Yeah. Get a
yeah.
little
Because
beep beep in your
especially
head.
when you're in an older property, because anything is possible.
Mhm.
I have found things by mistake. Like one story I was telling Tom, I found um a guy called me up to help him find his septic lid, and he was ready to dig up the whole property to find it. And so I tell him, let me go into your basement, take a look which way the pipe is going. So it kind of gives you an idea, which way you got to go.
Mhm.
So I go down there, and there's nothing but stone and dirt for the floor, and then stone for the sides, the foundation. So, I get an idea which way the pipe's going, and I said to him, wow, this is something down here. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I mean, sometimes you get lucky with walls like this because they didn't like banks back then. So, they'll hide stuff. So he tells me, oh, you're here, go ahead. Well, I started waving the metal detector over the stone walls, and I get a real good signal in one spot. And I look at the stone where, near where the signal is,
Uh-huh.
and the concrete is cracked all around the stone. I'm like, oh boy, this is the stuff you read about. So he goes and gets like a screwdriver and a pry bar. He came back with like a sledgehammer, and I said, no, you're not going to break your whole foundation, because in case I'm wrong, But
Uh-huh. But he was getting excited
he was
too.
getting excited,
Uh-huh.
so got a screwdriver in there, and we just popped the one rock, and all I see is a mason jar in there. And now, as somebody that's been doing it for as long as I have, my knees were shaking like you wouldn't believe.
Mm.
And I, put my hand in there, start bringing it out, and I feel it's a little bit heavy. And it was about like the biggest mason jar you could get, so it was a good sized jar, and it was about half full with silver coins.
Uh-huh.
Nothing major old, but all silver.
How old was the house?
The house was about 1850.
Okay.
So, they were more towards the end of 18s, early 19s. So I don't know when somebody did it, but it was
Uh-huh.
definitely before this guy, and it was funny. And then I'm outside looking for the cap after this, and I'm still shaking because you don't find that.
Yeah.
And as I'm looking for the cap, I'm getting hits left and right. So I'm just putting a little dent with my foot, but not doing anything, not digging. So I find the cap, and he's excited because he doesn't have to pay an excavator to come in. And so he says, how much do I owe you? I said, well, if it's okay, I'd like to dig those 6 quarters and 4 dimes. And he's looking at me like, what are you talking about? You didn't dig nothing. I said, if you let me, I will. And I found, uh, I found it was 6 quarters. One of them was probably worth about $75.
Hmm.
And, the dimes were, you know,
Oh, were they Mercury dimes?
yeah, Mercury dimes. And then there was a couple Barber dimes. So one of the dimes was worth about 35, $40. And then, the other ones were fives and tens.
Hmm.
So I get done, and, I start to walk towards my vehicle, and he said, where are you going? I said, well, I'm all done. He said, no, you're not. You got a big yard here. Keep going. So I made out very well there, but
Did you find more stuff?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just, dimes and quarters and stuff like that. But it was a very cool.
And did the fellow let you keep?
Oh yeah, I went to give it to him. I was like, here, take some of these. He said, no, I'm gonna keep what's in the jar downstairs. So that was,
Oh, he kept the jar.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. He kept that. He gave me, he told me put your hand in there and grab some, but I didn't want to go too crazy with it. But it was definitely worth doing. It was
yeah,
fun.
yeah. Well, that was like just by accident though, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
guaranteed. Because I told him where to take the coins. If he ever does sell them, to either
Did you
call
find
me
out where
or.
the septic went?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
And he
found the
said,
lid.
screw
Oh
the
yeah,
septic.
yeah,
Let's get behind this wall here.
yeah,
Like Al Capone's vault, right?
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Mm.
You really don't know what's in the ground.
No,
So
that's for
if
sure.
if
Yeah.
anybody out there ever wants to, you know, if you know a little history with your house, or you have an old house, you know, finding people like me that don't come in and kill your yard, you'll know within minutes if there's stuff in the ground or not,
Yeah.
or.
Yeah, I would think it's a great way to learn history. It's great to learn the history even before you get on the property.
Yeah.
It sounds like a real good hobby to take up. If I wasn't so lazy, I'd probably do it myself. But that's good, yeah. So there's one last thing that you brought in the show and tell version of this podcast. I'm curious where you found this. Looks like an old Bear aspirin
Yeah, that was
bottle.
that was in the Pauling area,
Uh-huh.
and the only reason I found that was because of the lid. Otherwise,
Yeah, the glass doesn't come up on your
yeah,
machine,
it
right?
definitely wasn't going to come up.
Uh-huh.
So if you see that little dent on the side there, you'll see like a little nick in there.
Over here.
Um, yeah,
Hmm.
I hit that with my shovel.
Ah,
It's a small shovel that we dig with, but it was sideways the bottle, so I kind of I nicked it just a little bit. I mean, for what it is, it's not really worth anything for the most part. So it didn't hurt. It's not like
well,
it
better
killed
you
the
nicked the
value. But
cap than the bottle. You would have broke the
yeah,
glass.
definitely would have broke the
Now, do
glass.
you know
But
how old this is or how
no,
much it's worth? Or
no, but it's
yeah.
like I said, I think it's lucky if you get $5, $10 for something like that. But it's fun to find it because there's nothing like that getting sold anymore. So
Oh, true that. Yeah. Well, whoever had it originally definitely had a headache because it's
yeah,
empty.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Would have been even more interesting if it still had aspirins in it.
yeah. We found probably one of my other interesting finds that I found, and it wasn't anything drastically old, mostly like wee pennies and a few silver dimes, but they were newer silver dimes. A leather pouch,
Uh-huh.
and it was ringing all kinds of signals. Well, it had all different kinds of coins in there.
Oh.
So it was ringing quarter, it was ringing dime and penny, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here?
Hmm.
And it ended up being a little leather pouch, and it had coins in there, so that
Now,
was
you have several machines, right? You were telling me before we started
yeah. I
recording.
have two.
Uh-huh. One goes deeper than the other?
Yeah, one of them is called Bliss Tool. It's BLISSTOOL. It's a foreign machine and it's extremely deep.
Mhm.
But what happens with that one is it doesn't discriminate like good and bad signals. If it's any kind of a metal, it's going to ring,
Mhm.
but it's very deep. It
Mhm.
will go very deep.
So it's like a
So,
sledgehammer
yeah,
approach,
so a lot of times you're digging stuff
but it
that,
doesn't tell you what it is.
no,
Okay.
my other one will kind of tell you. It's still, if it's a number or two off, my other machine, it'll kind of tell you what it is or close to it. This one, you're digging everything. But when you're on a property that's, in the 1800s or even 17s, you have to dig. Because if it's coming up as a metal, it could be some kind of a buckle you didn't, because the buckles always give like a weird type of reading. One time they're always a positive reading, but it's not always the same number, even though it's the same material. It's weird how that happened.
Mm.
They might have put a little bit more steel in it and mixed it with the bronze, or I don't know exactly how they were made back then, but it's definitely fun
Now,
finding
those
stuff like that.
things, the second machine, what do they usually go for when they're new? You
Well,
know?
that one I got cheap because a friend of mine that got me into it years and years ago. Like every few years, he'll buy a new machine. He's got to have the newest and the best. So
Mhm.
that one I got was inexpensive, but the whites that I have now that I spent the most on, I spent almost 1,800 on,
Okay.
and it has wireless headphones and all kinds of stuff. I
And
don't.
I'm sure it has a computer
Yeah,
with software
yeah,
that determines what's nickel, what's
yeah.
gold.
Because
Okay.
like, let's say you're in an area that has a whole mess of pull tabs from beer cans or soda cans.
Uh-huh.
You can eliminate that signal from the reading, and you can go over 100 of them, and it'll never ring.
Wow.
So it's very intense, but sometimes to eliminate it, it's not that it's hard, but you just never know. I
Mm.
mean, going to a beach, a bottle cap rings the same as a quarter when
Mm.
it's in the sand.
Right.
But this machine has a switch that you flick the switch and you go back over again. 100 out of 100 will tell you if it's a bottle cap
Wow.
or a quarter. So it's that accurate where it'll tell you, it's the same. There's a number system, low number all the way up to the 80s and 90s. A quarter usually rings about 83. Both that and a bottle cap in the sand does the same thing
Wow.
until you just, you knock the switch over
But
and
some
it'll
bottle
tell you.
caps are collectible too, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you have enough cores, you can even tell stories of the collection you have.
Yeah. So, anybody watching or listening to us, I guess there's a way for people to get a hold of you, maybe an email address that we can put on the
Yep.
show notes.
The best email to use is Joey D74. That's JOEYD 74 at MSN.com, or even a phone number. If you have coin collections or.
Yeah, well, we'll put it in the show notes, but you'll find it right below this video. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple somewhere, it'll be right below the show notes of this thing. We'll include that.
Okay.
So we definitely appreciate you coming by. It's very interesting. Every time I talk to you, Joey, I feel like buying one of those.
Oh
I know
yeah.
I call them Geiger counters, but
You're the first one I like to find when I find stuff different,
yeah,
because
well,
you
things
you
you
really
can
have an
you can
appreciation
take
for
it to the
stuff.
bottle man. One of these things, Kevin at the bottle shop,
He's
and he'll tell
probably got
you
a ton of those.
he'll tell you the month that was year, not only the
Oh
year but
yeah,
the month.
yeah,
So, but then again, you might find something that befuddles everybody,
yeah,
and that's
yeah.
probably the one
It's
that's
it's
gonna.
fun. It's it's like I said, the hardest part is finding good properties that
Yeah.
people don't think you're gonna kill their lawn or do whatever, but
Have I got a property for you? We'll see you further on up the road. Thank you for coming in, Joe.
Okay,
It was
thank you
great
very
having you
much for
here.
having me.
And we'll see you further on up the road
Okay,
with
thank you.
with the metal detection in hand.
Bring
Okay.
bring it.